Hey, what's going on, everybody, man? My name is Riley. It is your first time seeing my face on YouTube, go subscribe my channel and leave a like on this video. On today's clip, we're jumping up to Alaska, where we're going to be covering a mother who was just convicted on first-degree murder of her 5-year-old son. I don't know too much about this story. We're going to have to uncover this together. I'm going to stop wasting y'all's time. I'm just going to hop right in. Let's go. O'Reilly. Alright, y'all, we're gonna roll this clip. Make sure you're comfortable, grab something to snack on and something to sip, and let's enjoy this video together.
A mother calls 911 to report someone had harmed her young son. But a chilling voicemail would reveal a shocking admission, leading to an arrest in the case. According to the Fairbanks Police Department, officers responded to a call at a local home on October 13th and described the scene as horrific. Officials tell Law and Crime the initial responding officer found a child dead on the bed and saw injuries that were consistent with the young boy being cut or stabbed. The young boy was identified as 5-year-old Robert Gagner Sarton, who loved ones called Bodie. Bodie's mom, Cedar Sarton, was the one who called 911, at first claiming her young son had been harmed by someone else. However, when police responded to her home, Sarton opened the door with what appeared to be self-inflicted cuts on her forearms, wrists, neck, and head. But a search of the home would unlock more clues into the devastating way young Bodie died. According to police, Sarton bludgeoned her son to death with a 20-pound kettlebell and then attacked him with a knife after he was already dead. She then called the boy's father, Robert Gagner, and allegedly left several disturbing voicemails like, "Robert, this is really bad. You seriously need to come over here right now. Please don't freak out. We don't have a son no more." According to the criminal complaint obtained by Law and Crime, Sarton called 911 to report someone had crashed her son's brain with a 20-pound weight. According to police, initially Sarton said she didn't know what happened to her son and claimed the last time she saw him alive was when he was falling asleep in her arms. She allegedly sent Bodie's father a voicemail seemingly trying to cover her tracks and pleading with him to come over. In one voicemail, she allegedly said, "I don't know if I can make it to the door. Come over, please." And in another, she allegedly said, "Robert, I'm not playing. I couldn't save our son. They did this to us." She was transported to a local hospital to be treated for her self-inflicted injuries and was ultimately charged with first-degree murder. And according to her complaint, Sarton continued to leave voicemails for Bodie's father, even from her hospital bed. She allegedly wrote, "I know you're mad as hell at me because he died on my watch. I called you, okay? I called you. I knew something was wrong. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying." As the details continue to emerge of what happened, one question remains. Why did this happen? Bodie's cause of death was reportedly blunt force trauma to his head and brain. Investigators say Bodie's father told them of possible warning signs in the days leading up to the murder. According to Bodie's father, Robert Gagner, the two shared joint custody over the 5-year-old, and it was Sarton's turn to watch him on the day of his death. However, according to the complaint, Gagner told police Sarton's behavior seemed off when he dropped off their son, as he raised concerns about her mental state at the time of the gruesome crime. According to court records, Sarton has a history of violence and has been in trouble with the law several times. The 43-year-old has more than 20 arrests on her record, including felony theft, assault, and criminal mischief, and even a prior conviction for reckless endangerment against her son. According to police, in that incident, Sarton grabbed onto her then 16-month-old son's head and twisted it. And the wake up...
It's terrible to see the little kid was cursed as soon as he entered this world, man. It's terrible to see.
Of young Bodie's horrific murder, his loved ones have set up a GoFundMe to not only assist Bodie's father with funeral expenses, but to share more insight into the kind-hearted boy he was. According to the GoFundMe, Bodie was the sweetest, most kind-hearted, loving little boy who wanted nothing more than to play and just be a kid. He always had the biggest smile on his face and could talk up a storm. As Bodie's loved ones continue to navigate this devastating time, Sarton remains hospitalized, and it's unclear when she'll be transported to jail. Let's bring on retired NYPD Detective Tom Smith to break down this case even further. Tom, thanks for joining me today. What's your reaction to a mom of a 5-year-old bludgeoning him to death with a 20-pound kettlebell? Have you ever seen a case like this before?
No, it's just heartbreaking. There's absolutely no explanation. We could sit on here for hours and come up with no reasonable explanation of what happened and why this mother did this. And there's so many factors with this, with reading about it and doing some research on it, that has to be addressed. Of course, the mental health part, the criminal history part, all that. But again, even with that being said, there's no explanation for it. It's just really heartbreaking.
And from what we know right now, does anything stand out to you that you believe that this might have been a premeditated act?
Well, the premeditation goes back to her maybe violent background, in her past arrests. What were those arrests? You don't get into those too much, and it's hard to get the research for those, but what actually were there? Were there acts of violence? And the other thing I would go into is, were there ever child cases brought up against her, neglect or any violence towards, her ex-husband or the child in the past? That all has to be taken into consideration as well. The mental health part is hard to get a premeditation of because of what exactly it is. When you have a mental health issue, anything can just spark you, and then all of a sudden, just good things go to bad really quick.
And you kind of bring up a great point too about the question of why this happened remains. She did have joint custody of her son with her. I don't know if it's her ex-boyfriend or an ex-husband, but with the father of her young son. But then she also has this other part to her where she does have that violent criminal past and was even convicted of reckless endangerment that even involved her son. According to police, she grabbed the boy's head and twisted it when he was
What
a
the?
little more than a year old. Now, given that he was a little bit more than a year old at the time, and now he was 5 at the time of his death, what does that say to you now, in your thoughts about possibly it being a premeditated act, even though the conviction was so long ago in a way from when the death occurred?
Right. It shows a history of violence. That's exactly what it does. Things escalate. We had a saying in the police department, you graduate. You start off at smaller crimes and one becomes worse and worse and worse. And this is the same situation that happened. You may start off just on a disciplinary level, which some parents consider discipline. This isn't, obviously, but I think you know what I mean. You start off as a disciplinary action, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. And then when you throw in the maybe mental health issue with it, that dramatically changes it and dramatically makes it worse.
And the voicemails that she left the young boy's father were particularly disturbing. "We don't have a son anymore. You need to come over right
Yeah, it's
here.
just terrible,
Something really
bro.
bad happened. Don't freak out." And then she attempted to take her own life. Going back to the premeditation factor, do you think that she was planning for this to be a murder suicide? And what do you make of her leaving behind those voicemails to her son's father?
Yeah, that's
She's a
actually what I
coward.
thought of first of the murder suicide, just because of the chronological order that they took place, and that is usually how it happens. But the voice messages are just bizarre. Again, we could try to analyze it and break it down, but it's kind of just, it's laying out there of what happened. I did this. This is what it is. I hope you get this message. And the part of "we don't have a son anymore" is just chilling. And the kind of calmness of it is even more chilling and terrifying.
And why do you think Sarton continued to attack her son's body with a knife even after he was already dead?
To make sure, that's, you're looking at it from a detective point of view. All the wounds that were done were after he was already dead, but that just shows a finality to it of making sure. And again, we could say it over and over again, just the horrible thought that this poor child went through. And you hope it was quick, with maybe the first blow, but that doesn't, take away the pain of it. And it's just disturbing, every part of it.
And as a retired detective, how difficult is it to go to these types of cases and go to these types of scenes, especially when they involve young children or just children in general?
Yeah, child victims are always the hardest, because the majority of us, not all, have children. You get in that mindset of your children, and then this child is gone now. Those cases are always very difficult, but you have to kind of just take a step back and just look at it as a victim, as much as you don't want to. But in order to continue the investigation and do it properly, and do it with a sound mind and a clear vision ahead, you have to do that. You have to just clear it out of your mind of it being a child. Not to sound cold, but it's another victim.
And what's it like even speaking with family members of loved ones who did, succumb to these terrible and gruesome, horrific injuries? What's it like speaking to family members of those who passed away or were killed in these horrific manners?
Well, it has to be done delicately, because of the nature of it. The notification to family members, you have to understand as a detective, there are also interviews. You may be telling them about what happened, but now you're going to wait for the response of, I knew it, she acted like this, I knew this was going to happen, something like that. A lot of times comes out. So you're not only just doing a death notification, but you're also doing an interview at the same time and waiting to hear those responses about what occurred.
And what do you make of Bodhi's father saying that he kind of felt something was off when he had dropped off their son to her on the day or leading up to this murder? I'm sure at the time maybe he didn't think it was such a big deal then, maybe possibly, but at the same time, probably reliving it over and over again, probably thinking maybe I shouldn't have done this. But, obviously they have joint custody, so it was probably an order by the judge. But at the same time, what do you think it's like for him to kind of remember, oh, something was off at this time, then to come to find out something horrible had happened?
Yeah, it's that
Get that
horrible
feeling.
what if scenario that people face all the time in these situations. And he's going to go through his morning and what if I did this? I should have done this. But listen, it's hard to go through that because people have bad mornings. People aren't the same all the time. So to just say, hey, something wasn't right, may just be a normal morning. He's going to beat himself up no matter what anybody says to him about that kind of sixth sense or other feeling he had and not acting on it.
And are you surprised they even had joint custody given that she was convicted of reckless endangerment that involved their son?
Yeah, that has to be looked into. Those decisions that were made. Were there any visits to the house? Was there, anything like that on a healthcare issue with the child? Those are all part of the investigation. Detectives are going to go through that and just kind of build a timeline of criminality and violence throughout this child's life.
Yeah, and this is just a horrific case and just very disturbing on so many levels. Tom, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Before we sign you off, though, is there anything else about this case you'd like to add?
No, you know what? It's just sad. And like I say at the end of certain shows, just pray for these kids who are going through this. There's unfortunately many of these situations out there, and a lot of them end up the same way. And just if you have that kind of feeling about something, make a phone call, whether it's a teacher, whether it's, a neighbor. You see something wrong and you have that little hair raising experience with, something, make a phone call and just get the wheels rolling. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But in the event you're right, you could save a life.
All right, Tom Smith. Well, thank you
It's a
so much
great
again for your
piece
time
of
today. I
advice.
really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Cedar Sarton is charged with first-degree murder for the death of her 5-year-old son. At this time, she remains hospitalized and hasn't been given a court date just yet.
Really?
Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Milner.
So this story right here is really, truly heartbreaking, man. I mean, this mother obviously was going through something. I'm not too sure. Hopefully, in the months coming up, we'll figure out what her motive was behind this. I don't know if she's just a whack job or she was just thinking she could maybe somehow have a better life. I'm not too sure, man. But I want to know what y'all's thoughts and comments on this video are. What do you think was going through the mother's head as she was committing this brutal act? Other than that, we're just going to roll this outro. Let's go. Alright, y'all, we're going to wrap this one up right here. If you enjoy this type of content, I'm going to link a playlist right here in the video. It's going to have all the reactions on there for y'all to check out. We'll be dropping 5 videos a week here on the channel. We've also been going live here on the channel 5 days a week. So that's 2 great reasons why you should go down there, subscribe to the channel, and turn those post notifications on. So you can come tap in on the new videos, and so you can come tap in on live and say what's up. We just be playing games that y'all recommend in the comment section. We even be playing with viewers on there, so if y'all trying to vibe out to that, come tap in on the lives. I might be live right now. If you see my little profile red, come tap in, say what's up, say you just watched this video. And yeah, other than that, we'll go ahead and catch y'all on the next one. I appreciate y'all watching to this end of the video like always. And yeah, y'all have a blessed day. Peace.